Hi, I'm Linda Keefe, co-publisher of Tech Talk, which is tips and terms and techniques for non-techies. And thank you so much for being here. Today's webinar is about how you can increase database effectiveness, especially when you're hobbled by reduced budgets. So I'm going to show you some ideas for increasing the effectiveness and the usage, the engagement. We're also going to show you how we do that with Tech Talk, which is a technology subscription that really tries to pay attention to all of these essential elements. And then we'll end up with a little bit of Q&A. So for over 23 years, Tech Talk has basically been serving the library and the educational support industries with, tiny micro training that not only builds skills, but builds confidence so that they shine at work. Basically, we arm librarians and patrons and students with the missing technology and the missing communication skills they need to really thrive in today's high-tech work world, to get better jobs, higher pay, to do better in work that they already have. It all started in 1996 with the Brooklyn Public Library. We were very fortunate to do quite a bit of training for them. We created a tech advocate program, training 120 different librarians in each taking a 6-week class, which reduced their support help desk time from 17 days average to 3 within the first couple of weeks. We taught them and created the technology communications class. It was really an immersion into libraries, and we loved it. And now we support all types of libraries and educational support organizations, public libraries, BOCES entities, school libraries, school systems, state libraries, and of course academic libraries. And so we began with a newsletter. Then we added the database, and recently last fall a mobile app. So it's pretty exciting. It wasn't though until Singapore prison system reached out to us asking for our content that we said, oh, all right, we're going to redesign the database so it's really current, give it a fresh look, make sure that all the information is totally up to date and relevant. So we have about 1,000 articles in there that applies to today's world. So that brings us to this webinar, all right, because the database can't just sit there. We need to increase the effectiveness, and too often there isn't as much use of it. And because our new goal is to be known around the world in libraries and educational support entities for being the go-to place for knowledge on technology and communications, the two most important skills that employers want, this is why we don't want the database to just sit there. We want it to be vibrant. So we know that electronic resources have always been important, right? So there are some real challenges, especially today. There is frequently a frustration, if you will, with the low usage of databases, particularly course-based collections. And libraries are now being hampered by costs that keep renewing and getting higher every year when they're subscription-based, and in the presence of budgets that are very often being continually reduced. So what we have to do to get this engagement up so that you get the highest value of the database is to sell it to 2 different groups, because just telling them one time isn't going to work. So let me give you some ideas for how to sell it to your colleagues, the librarians, the faculty, the staff, and also your audiences, whether they're patrons or students or even alumni. I'll give you several ideas to do with each, and I'll show you how we do it in Tech Talk. So each group needs a different approach and messaging. So let's look at colleagues first. There are 3 ways to get librarians and faculty and staff on board. The first thing is to let them know that the database is there. And of course, we have geared this webinar to be about any of your databases, not just ours, but we're showing you as examples what we do to give you some concrete ideas. So we need to let the staff and so forth know the database is there, and what it can do, and key points that they might want to pay attention to, all right? So how do we do that? Here are some ideas. Obviously, present it at their team meeting. Create perhaps a 7-part email campaign. Maybe it goes out every week, maybe it goes out once a month, but something that just continually says, we've got this database, and here's an interesting thing that you can learn about it. You can put them on a tip mailing list so that routinely and regularly they begin to see, aha, and it stays top of mind. You can meet with them one-on-one. The object is to get them hooked. And the way we get them hooked, because we know people need to hear things at least 7 times before they go, aha, and start to remember it. We need to tell them repeatedly. So what we try to do in Tech Talk is also provide the mechanisms to make it really easy to keep telling them and keep reminding them and keep showing them what the database can do. So number 2, besides just telling them, you need to let them know that they can use the material that they have in the databases when developing their classes, whether it's a math class, an engineering class, an entrepreneurship class, whatever it is. Now, that is subject to each license. With Tech Talk, we allow it. You need to check your license to be sure, but if it does allow it, let the faculty and the staff know. You can use it in the public courses, you can use it in staff development courses, you can use it in student curriculum courses. That really starts to build the usage of the database. And then the third way to get to colleagues and help them understand about the database is show them how, in concrete ideas of how they can use the materials in their classes. Here are 3, and we'll look at in some specific examples on a couple of them. One is course assignments. Obviously, if you're a nursing database and you have a nursing assignment, then you're going to assign and let the people know that the database is there. When it comes to technology skill development, you can still, there are a number of classes that the variety of articles that we have here can support their curriculum. Another idea is to give them extra credit. So a lot of times people want to either make up for some lousy test scores, or they want to just make sure they're going to get that top A. So, you know, there are ways of using the databases to provide for extra credit. And then, of course, busy work. And busy work, I mean, when you've got those students that are high achievers and fast workers, and they get done, and you still have more time, then using the databases is a good use of that time as well. So let's look at a couple of these in more detail. For instance, if course assignment, let's say, for instance, you were going to have a class in social studies, you're studying Indian tribes, and you want them to learn about Indian tribes, but more importantly, that you also want them to learn how to do research. So you send them to the all-time favorite area in Tech Talk and have them go through the 4 sequential areas. The research techniques, 11 articles specifically on that. The gathering of data, that's a different set of 11 articles. How to create the charts and graphs around the information you found, and how to present the findings in such a way that people will pay attention, they will believe you, and you will leave a fine impression. So that might be a course assignment idea. So you might pick one article and pick one article in each of the 4 sections and use the information in it to research and gather data, charts, and presentations, right? The goal, obviously, is to find good data and present it in such a way that impresses the audience with your new skills. Let's take about extra credit. Here's another example. Maybe you want them to go to the Excel category, pull that up, and because you're in a math class, and create spreadsheets of some sort of thing. So you might have them pull up the topic, read 5 articles, or watch the videos, with closed captioning, and create the spreadsheet of your choice and format it to, you know, really look professional. This builds communication skills, communication with technology, how you're using technology to communicate. It's building confidence, but it's also arming them with the stuff they need to either get into higher levels of schooling, or really be competitive for jobs and job placements. So that's how we get our colleagues to start using the database. Let's look at how you get your audience to use the database, all right? So there are three things. The first one is we need to feed them regularly, all right? So they know, like, and trust the database. That means you can't tell them just once. So you need to create awareness campaigns repeatedly and imaginatively. We'll show you some ideas for that. So for instance, you might have some direct campaigns where you're sending email out periodically, or you do a webinar, or you do information changes and so forth in a website. You can have print, because people like to take things home and keep them. And, you know, print, reaching out and touching, printing things is always a good idea. So bookmarks that focus on the database, posters and flyers, press releases, brochures. We're going to show you some of those, what we've done at Tech Talk, but you can use this for any and every database. Social media, there are teasers that can be created that go up in Twitter and Facebook, Instagram images. So you need to give a continual awareness of this for the users as well. And maybe even some 1-minute videos, like a 1-minute tip. If you've got those LED screens that rotate and so forth, you can put it there, or you can use it on your website. You can use them all kinds of places. And infographics. Infographics are very powerful these days. We'll show you some in a little bit of what we do with Tech Talk in that. But here's another idea. You want to give them regular information from the database, because nothing convinces people as much as saying, oh, well, that was interesting, or yeah, that would be helpful. And it gives them an incentive to go to the database. In Tech Talk, that's one of the reasons we have the newsletter with the 1 tip on tech and 1 tip on communication that goes out every week. And so it just gently gives useful information. Even if they don't read it, they see it in their email box. They go, oh yeah, that's right, there's that database there. We also like to remind them and give them tips through our mobile app notifications. So when people download the app, which is again all part of the subscription, they get, as soon as a new article or video is placed, they just get a very friendly notification. A new one is up and a little bit about it, so they'll be enticed to go there. So now we're talking about audiences. One is to keep feeding them information that it's existing and what it can do for you. Number 2 is once they get there, you need to engage them, right, so that they have a meaningful experience. Because if it's boring or ho-hum and they have to it just looks like the old kinds of plain databases, they're going to give up and forget and not bother to go again. So that means you need to offer activities or fun ways or something of using the information and applying it. We'll show you a little bit at the end, a lot of what we do, but right now I'll give you one idea of what we do in Tech Talk. It's a treasure hunt. So they go in the Tech Talk database and they can have, we call it a treasure hunt, but we want them to apply it as well. Make it fun, include trivia quizzes. So for instance, they could choose to create a poster, they could choose to create an infographic, they could learn how to create a pivot table, and when they click on this, it takes them through reading certain articles in Tech Talk, applying what they learned to a real item like a flyer, and then sharing it and presenting it. Then at the bottom, it has a little bit of a quiz to see if, and just for themselves to know, has a quiz to see if in fact they got the main points of the articles that they read. And then the quiz will show them what they got right, what they got wrong, and how to go find out the right answer if they did. So that's feed them constantly, make it interesting when they arrive, and then 3 is remind them that it's there, all right? So that they want to go back for more. And that means using multiple ways to keep telling them they have this useful information at their fingertips. For example, 1-minute videos on screenings or social media posts. We know that it's definitely possible to improve database usage, all right? We know that, for instance, an EBSCO campaign where they sent one 6-month email campaign with 1 email each month about a particular database, they achieved 388% increase in the downloads after sending the email campaign out, all right? And that stayed elevated 9 months later, which means they weren't still sending the emails. So that's why we want to keep feeding them, keep reminding them, keep putting things up in Twitter and Facebook and so forth. So not only do we know that it's possible to improve database usage, but it's also, you can increase effectiveness by helping people build their job market skills and by saving money for other budget needs, at least with the Tech Talk database. So let us show you how we do all this with the Tech Talk database. First, I'll show you first we'll look at ways where we help you spread the word, and then we'll show you how we help them engage once they're there. So in here you see choices that we keep building upon for making it easy for you to have all the collaterals and tools you need to just post them and send them, so they continually be fed and they continually be reminded and continually understand what they can do in the database. So on the left, you see we've got planning sessions we do with new folks where we go through a whole checklist of ideas and we customize what you want and what collaterals you want customized, and we create them for you and send them to you. Some of the choices are, print. People have asked us for signs that they can use on the window, or that they can put tent cards at the public computers. Other people have asked us for a trifold brochure that they can put out and people can take with them, or bookmarks. Then we've got social media, where we continually build a library of teasers that you can use for any of the different social media entities, or your newsletter, or your email. We have sessions to explain about Tech Talk, so you don't have to do it all yourself. We have things such as about Tech Talk webinars, and yes, we can do the videos, but we have videos, but we also do just live webinars for you. If they're in the state of Florida by any chance, and we're all across the US, but in Florida, we actually do on-site. And these are all part of the regular subscription. It's nothing extra. Sometimes you have special events like a student orientation. Maybe you want a webinar for that. Or the teachers, you're having a teaching staff meeting that you want to either give them some tips or orient them to the database. So their how-to or their orientation, and of course collaterals. We've got videos and scripts and infographics. Press releases. Let's say you are an academic university and you are an academic library at a university and you want to give this as a gift to alumni, you can do that too. And by the way, it's all one cost, so you don't have to worry about the cost at all. We'll get to that in a minute. But so sending a press release out, or if you're a public library and you're giving it to patrons and you've got some new classes in the new database, submitting a press release for the community. You can write it, you can edit it, whatever you'd like, and use it. So those are all the choices. So let's say, for instance, we've got Volusia County Public Library. We co-brand the database for you, so when they log in, they see it's from you, and they're reminded from you. And up here at the top, it always says it's reminded from you. So the first thing we're going to show you is how we help you engage the attendee. Then we'll show you more of how we help you promote it. So engaging them, we want them to realize that there are numerous ways they can search, first of all. Now we're on the website, and again, we see Volusia, and we see our all-time favorite. Now when we go into search, it will show up just as beautifully as it's supposed to. All right, so search by keyword. Sure, we can search for pivot table, or we can search for freeze panes, or we can search for social media. We can also search by category. So for instance, this makes it easy for your audience to find things that are important to them. And if we have the research areas, we have the skill areas. If we've got faculty or something in the computer class that wants to make sure they know all the novice skills, because unfortunately we are now as a nation and as a world assuming that people know all this. So they're not getting it in classes, they're not getting it anywhere, and the newbies, the millennials and the Generation Zs are coming in knowing how to get to Word and Office and Excel, but they don't really know how to they don't know the bells and whistles of how to use it. So this is where Tech Talk comes into play. They also don't necessarily know how to communicate well. So each of these categories breaks it down where you can pull up just, let's say, power words, where you see all of the articles around that one topic. Here's an article on switching the word favorite to one of. And this is a communication tip that says, if you're asking someone about what's your favorite database, people will struggle. If you say, what's one of your favorite databases, people will come up with one. So that's when you get to more challenging entities like, okay, why are you really upset? Versus what's one reason you're upset? You can feel the difference, I'm sure. Also, when you click on search, you can scroll down. Again, this is for the users. They can see the major categories and the 10 most recent articles on each one. We also see that as we go down, that whether they're in Word or they're using the Google Office collection, our articles now have both in each article. So we scroll down and see what this is. And if we, for instance, go to a new mind mapping tool, we can click on it, and we find since 2016 that every article has also a video with closed caption and so forth. Now let's look at one other search topic, solving problems. We've collected articles around how you work with tables, or how do you solve formulas that go that are a problem, or how do you move quickly between open products, how do you organize your desktop, and so forth. And last but not least, we have ask your questions, and that is any one of your audience when they get stuck and they say, I wish there was an article on such and such, or I don't know quite how to do so and so. They can simply submit it to us, and we reply just as quickly as possible, usually within the first hour. Okay, now let's look at how we help you promote the database. So let's look at engagement resources. You can see all of the database activities here, the different branding, so that you can use our images for products and Tech Talk on your websites. You can sign up for a strategy session here. You can view all of our promotional options, but let's take a look here at promotional support, because here's where we start to build a library that has bookmarks. You can print them and cut them yourself, or you can order them professionally done and cut and slice. We tell you where to go, give you the image to present to them, tell you which options to choose. It's very nominal cost. It's not any markup, it's just a link to someplace that will be useful for you. How about a trifold brochure? We can customize it. Some people like something on the table that people can pick up and take home. What about an infographic, which is current and fun? Whether it's the school world or the library world, or we customize it, that's possible. How about Facebook teasers that you can post in your Facebook account? We create them for you. So Twitter, scripts that when the student comes to the librarian and says, or the patron comes to the librarian and says, can you help me with this technology thing? Then the librarian can say, yes, and we're going to go use Tech Talk. Let me show you this database that you can use also, whether you're at home, in class, at work. And of course, as we said, we give either intro tips to Tech Talk, or intro webinars to Tech Talk, or tip Tech Talk. Tips, webinars, woo, tongue twister there. So let's go back here. I've shown you what your audience can do and what the promotional support we have for you. So how do you actually get more and save money with Tech Talk? We've had a rather unique pricing strategy and business model, but nobody buys on price. The only thing that matters really to you is, does it arm your audience with the stuff that they need? In our case, the missing technology and the communication skills. They need to be competitive, all right, in school, in life, in work. And so one thing I can do is, if you can like to consider providing Tech Talk with the database and the mobile app and the newsletter to your patrons or your students and anybody else you have in mind, I can absolutely guarantee you that the price will make you sigh with relief, undoubtedly. And I can do this because when we first started this, someone said to us, oh, your prices are way too high. So we had to go back to the drawing board, because we don't want to be the high-priced product. We've never been the high price. We've been the high-value product. So we've come up with a business model that fits absolutely every single budget, even no budgets. In fact, one of our clients had, just before she learned about Tech Talk, she found out she had to cut her budget by $200,000. She had to cut her database by $200,000, and she bought Tech Talk because she could afford it. So don't let price be the issue. If it's something you're interested, let's talk, okay? Just put yes in the chat, and I'll contact you, or send an email to me at linda@tech-talk.com, and we can have a conversation, and I'll share with you our unique business model that you will find very attractive. So one of the questions came up was, can you get this just for staff, or do you need to get it for the unlimited license for students and faculty and alumni and patrons? And the answer is yes. We're happy to craft anything that you want. Our job is to make your job easier and to do and more effective and more pleasurable. So we have a limited list pricing that's published by the size of the list you want. So your staff is maybe 300, and so you pick that level, or you go to the unlimited use, which is you and your entire world, and that price is a very unique business model. All right, it's almost name your own price in a way. So do we have any others? Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Yeah, thank you. We liked it. It's very interesting. Okay, super. Oh, all right, and it's straightforward. All right, good. Don't have any questions then. So I just want to thank you then for joining us today. Deborah and I both wish you much success with your electronic resources. We hope we've given you some ideas, and we'd love to help you with your technology side and make it just as easy as possible for you to share the information, engage them, and remind them. Thank you, and bye.